afternoon, everyone. My name is Sophie Schmidt, and we are here to talk about smart grids and secure futures. Demand for energy is rising globally. AI is emerging as an essential tool for managing supply and demand, for optimizing the grid, for predicting disruptions. And yet we know AI itself is a voracious consumer of energy. So what a paradox we have. Luckily, we have a panel of industry experts to lead us through that tension. On the far end, we have Tonya Sitko from Herndon Solutions Group, Scott Monteith from Avalon Advanced Materials, and Bluntzer Pullin from the Ham Institute for American Energy, and Jarrod Agen, Executive Director of the National Energy Dominance Council from the White House. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
So if I can, Jarrod, I'd like to start with you. For decades, the policy goal in this country was energy security. Your team is focused on energy dominance, and we know energy is a significant component of America winning the AI war. So walk us through that shift. Why dominance?
Yeah, I think this is, you heard the president talk about this at the UN today. President Trump is right about everything, and the one thing he was right about is we need to focus on energy. This was a big part of his campaign, and he learned from the first time in office, he wanted a group within the White House that could look across government and focus on energy issues and cut through the bureaucracy to get projects done. And the reason, the importance of that is because winning the AI race is vital to the success of the Western world, it's vital to the success of America. The great part that makes my job so fun is that energy is cool. Energy is so cool now because it used to have the tech sector, and that was kind of the cool sector, and energy was over here, and they were doing oil and gas. But now all of these things are merged into one, and you're not gonna have the AI technology advances without power. And we need to increase our production of power here in the US. And so the president has tasked us, and it's great to be at things like this because even in the early days I was walking around the White House and people would ask me what I did, and I said I was the Energy Dominance Council, and they were like, what is that? But now everybody kind of gets it because we are launching projects here in the US that we've never done before, that from gas and pipelines to critical minerals and mining, because all of these sectors are colliding, and you've seen the president do this in Pennsylvania and others. He is convening all of these different sectors, getting them into the room, because what we have to do is create the energy grid that can support the AI data centers and not drive up the cost for all of us and consumers out there and all of you. And so that is going to take an all-of-government approach. It's going to take people from several different sectors. The one thing that Secretary Burgum, who runs the energy, he's the chair of the Energy Dominance Council, his great line is, you know, it used to be knowledge is power, but now with AI, power is knowledge. The ability to create power is going to create knowledge via AI. And so what we're focused on at the White House is how do we take all of these sectors together and set up our grid in the best possible way using best practices so that we can win the AI race.
Well, it sounds like AI is already being adopted across the energy sector. Tonya, you're on the ground in pretty demanding environments. You work with a lot of government agencies like NASA, like DOD. What does adoption look like from where you are? What are you seeing?
You know, from a government perspective, I'm not seeing nearly as much as in the commercial sector. And on the commercial sector, that's where we really focus on reducing risk and increasing resiliency. And one of the AI topics you had talked about, or we talked about previously, is you know, we're looking at ways to use AI to let commercial entities know where they should invest their funds. So using environmental data, using climate change data, using topography, where the assets are currently. If they have a certain capped amount to invest, where should that money go? And so it's kind of a circular economy. We're using AI to figure out where to invest so they can build more power and have better AI.
Mm-hmm. And you come at this from a global perspective because you've seen energy projects everywhere from Oklahoma to Indonesia. Are you seeing lessons that other operators can take when it comes to bringing AI into what has been, to Jarrod's point, not a cool sector, not necessarily a tech-forward sector these days?
Yeah, I think, and Tonya just mentioned it too, which I think is really interesting. Energy begets energy. And so I think the more efficient that we get with our grids, with our actual energy resources, with the utilities, that some countries are more progressive in a lot of this, and some are 100 years behind, and some still don't even have the infrastructure. And so when you look at it from a global perspective, the more efficient and the better the use of AI, then the more it's going to get utilized, and then the more power we're actually going to need. And so you'll hear, a lot of opinions about, are we really going to need this power demand? Is this a lot of hype?
Yeah.
Is this actually going to be what happens? I was just visiting with my friend Hillary Ham about this just moments ago, and the most conservative estimate right now is we are going to need to double within 4 years. And that's a conservative estimate in regard to global power demand to meet AI. That's not even talking about what we need to do in the US to even dominate in this field. That's a global need. And so then when you peel that back from an energy security perspective, and how does the United States lead in this, and how can we be the example of how we're going to power this amazing technology and take advantage of this opportunity, hopefully we're setting some examples for the rest of the world to follow. But to Jarrod's point, it's going to take a lot of people from a lot of different parts of this equation to convene and really cut through some of this red tape, and get the permitting in the place it needs to be to get what we need online as soon as possible. Not 10 years, which has been the typical run of a nuclear. That's on the easy conservative side. An oil and gas facility, sometimes that'll take 5 years. We're talking about geothermal and the opportunity that we have there to utilize existing resources that have already been built. Those take 3 to 5 years to even come back through and re-outfit an old well to do that. So these are all things, because of permitting, have taken this long. So I think what Jarrod's trying to do in the White House, I think what the president's trying to do, I think what industry that has been a little shaken from the instability of moving from one administration to another in this White House, if we can figure out how to get past that and really all be on the same page in regard to the permitting reform that's going to be necessary to meet this demand, I think we can be a real example to the rest of the world on how to meet this challenge and see everybody excel because of it.
Speaking of permitting, Scott, we were talking about this. In order to achieve the vision that we're hearing, we need a lot of critical minerals, right? Critical minerals we don't have at home. So help me understand this, because AI can scale really quickly, but mines can't. You can't turn them on and they work tomorrow. So how does this work over time? We want to move really quickly, but we need the copper, we need the lithium, we need these things that are owned by all these partners around the world.
Yes, that's true. It's a bit of a connect the dots issue for mining people, mining companies. It starts with permitting and scaling up your mines. And to do that, we do have to become more efficient. In Canada, it's the same problem as the US. It's a decade-long path, if not longer, to get through the permitting process to get to construction of a mine, if ever, because it's no guarantees. The private sector is working with government in Canada to help streamline the mining industry, and we've been sharing our experiences with government to help them figure out ways to streamline permitting, indigenous relations, all kinds of different, metrics that were very disorganized in the past. And with the Energy Dominance Council creating a concierge type of service to industry, it's similar in Ontario and in Ottawa, where they're doing a similar, they're introducing a similar plan to help companies shorten the highway to construction from 10 years to hopefully 2 or 3 years. And it's important to get these projects going. And it's important for the USA that Canada is able to speed these projects up, because we're the closest source of raw material. We're not having to ship the material across the Pacific, across the Atlantic. We share the same continent. We share the same border. And Canada, in my discussions with lots of folks, especially the people in DC, Avalon, as well as other companies in our space in Canada, view our resources as feed for the U.S. market, whether it's processors, whether it's the end users, whether it's zirconium for nuclear power plants. We're a stable political environment, and we're good neighbors. So I think that helps. And with AI, it's going to help us improve as well the sourcing of these materials. The AI in our world will help with improving ESG metrics, the generation of those types of metrics, and it will help increase operational efficiency. The mining industry, as far as operational efficiency, lags behind traditional industries by about 20% as far as operational efficiency increases. So I think with AI, we're going to be able to help solve some of those problems. And in particular, with the lithium hydroxide refinery that we're building in Thunder Bay, Ontario, we're partnering with Qualcomm out of California to implement their AI technology and drones and sensors and generative AI, Gen AI. And we're hoping that this technology will make our process a lot more efficient.
So what I'm hearing from all of you is that the role of public-private partnerships here is huge here, right? Everyone being on the same time. Now, if I think about AI tools specifically, Jarrod, question for you, these are tools made by the private sector for the most part. They're owned by them. Companies themselves barely understand how they work to their own knowledge. Does it worry you that we would put national strategies of dominance almost in the hands of corporate actors? Is that a strength or a weakness?
No, my job is to get out of the way of industry and people like this who want to do great projects and are getting the end around by bureaucracy and not being able to put shovels in the ground and get stuff done. You're taking things from several years down to a couple years. We want to do more than that. We want to take it from years down to weeks. And that's exactly what the Energy Dominance Council is for. Now, what we want to be is a facilitator in that if there are ways that you need to be connected with if the tech sector needs to be connected with the energy sector, we can help make those connections. But then I want to get out of the way. I want to make sure the permitting goes as fast as possible. If there are great projects, you talked about nuclear here, ultimately what's going to generate the power we need on the grid is nuclear. And President Trump has done a lot in investing in nuclear. We did a lot of executive orders on it. But that is years out. And so the key now to win the AI race is we've got to get the infrastructure in the U.S. with the gas pipelines. There's natural gas trapped in areas in Pennsylvania, in Texas, North Dakota, Alaska. How do we get that gas into the data centers and permitting those fast enough and getting them built fast enough to get out of the way of industry so that we can win the AI race?
Sounds like a dominance position to me. We're hearing a lot about upside, so let me end on risk, because AI is an imperfect technology. It makes mistakes. We all know this. The margin for error on critical infrastructure is very low. So I'm really curious to know, in that trade-off between acceleration and automation and oversight, governance, regulation, I guess my question to all of you is, are we moving fast enough? Or are we maybe moving too fast with respect to bringing in a novel technology, which of course any new innovation brings risks, brings vulnerabilities of all sorts. Where are you all on that spectrum? Jarrod, I think I know your answer.
I'll go last, but go ahead.
No, I think we could be moving faster. I mean, just two examples that you just alluded to in different areas. One use case is on latency in lines and what can happen by using AI tools to make obviously getting more electricity to the places it needs to go that we already are producing. We're just losing it. So there's some fantastic work being done right now on that. And then in a whole other, we talk about permitting, and what we're trying to do at the Ham Institute is align an automated permitting process at different state levels utilizing AI that would then build on top of the federal permitting process so that those two systems are speaking to each other, and we're using AI to do that. So you have a very tangible, realistic example with power lines and latency, and then you have this more academic one of, you know, really just pulling data and being able to cut through all of these processes that are literally still physical papers being delivered to the Capitol in the state of Oklahoma and in the state of Texas and in the state of Wyoming. And you're getting rid of all of that and cutting those times down from 3 years to literally 3 weeks if we can use AI to do that. And we're getting close, but it has to move faster to meet this moment, to be able to have that use case for AI, to get everybody excited and not as scared about what could happen if it moves too fast. And when you can show the positives and the benefits to something like this, you really start to minimize that risk in what would be a fear tactic around it.
Interesting. Scott, where are you on this?
Sounds good. And it might be too good to be true, though, from my perspective. And I've been through many big capital projects. And sometimes when you rush, you make mistakes. And my only concern is that, you know, we're in a race. We can't control what the other participants are doing as far as how fast they're going. So we got to be cognizant of that. But it's also important to try to manage your trajectory and your speed so that you don't trip and fall. And that's just based on my own experience. Because we really don't know where we're going to be in 10 years. We don't know how good AI is going to be. We don't know how bad it could be. So my concern is if you rush, we might make mistakes.
Tonya, where are you?
I think I'm more of we're not moving fast enough. You know, a couple of places I think in permitting, Scott and I were talking about this earlier, you know, we're always going to have some oversight, but if we were able to, for example, use autonomous drones to inspect an area and feed that back to some central auditor where he's not having to physically go from site to site to review these things, that's a really good use of AI in my opinion, and will definitely reduce the permitting time. Also, to Ann's point, you know, we have infrastructure in areas, some areas, and maybe an abundance of power, and we need to get it to a different area. So using AI to, you know, like the days of self-healing networks, you know, using AI to figure out where we can take that power and move it from place to place, I think that's a good use of AI as well to be dominant.
There you go. Well, on that same note in our remaining time, Jarrod.
No, I would just say I totally agree with not moving fast enough. I mean, you bring stuff to the president, he wants it done faster. But I think that the key is none of this is in isolation. You know, this is UNGA week, and you know, we're talking about energy and power. This is tied into global geopolitical issues, and all of the trade deals that are being done all tie into what kind of power we can generate here in the U.S. And all of that ties into the diplomacy through the world of people want to partner with us on AI. They want to partner with us to buy U.S. energy. And so none of this happens in a vacuum. And so the faster we can unleash the potential that we have here in the U.S., we know we're going to win the AI race when it comes to technology, but the faster we can unleash the power here in the United States, that is going to affect trade deals, that is going to affect our leverage when we're negotiating in some of these geopolitical negotiations. And so all of that is tied to our ability to have the infrastructure here, not only to produce for the American people, but to sell that and use that as leverage when we want to do trade negotiations all over the world. So all of this is tied together. It's why it's so important that we're having conversations like this and meeting in rooms and having global conversations, because it is vitally important that the U.S. not only wins the AI race, but is energy dominant so that we do not lose to Russia and China.
On that note, last question, quick thoughts. In order to make this vision a reality, what is one thing that the energy sector has to get right on AI in the next, let's say, 2 years for this to come to pass?
I'd say power generation without bringing up the cost of consumers.
Okay.
I would say understanding the human capital dilemma that we are in, because we don't have enough people interested in the careers that are going to make the infrastructure build necessary in this country. 6,000 lineman jobs posted right now. No one's applying for them. And so how in the world are we going to do this? There's a real human capital concern here that our universities have got to step up and recalibrate how we look at what a college education means and what's attractive to help meet the demand to secure this.
Very interesting. Scott?
quickly. I think if AI can help speed up the raw material processes, finding the mines, building the mines, I think AI can be used in the feasibility study process to really speed things up and do a better job. I think securing the raw materials is an important target for AI.
Makes sense.
I think
Tonya, last word.
all power, however we can get it and how fast we can get it, I think that is the most important thing. Because we're going to have a demand that, to Ann's point earlier, that it's going to reach a critical point where we have to have this power. And I think all hands on deck at that point.
Interesting times ahead. We'll see. Please join me in thanking our speakers.